right.
How's your week?
It is, it's good. We're trying to work through some stuff with my wife. Just her medical situation just keeps getting worse, and we were up in Woodland Park yesterday trying to see if we can get some things straightened out, and a whole bunch of tests and a whole bunch of nothing. So just
Well,
try
that's
again.
good.
Yeah, I just think there comes a point in life where it's gonna, you know what, if you think you're getting out of this whole life thing without having been hit by two, three, four, 20 different things along the way, you're crazy. You're gonna get hit with all of this stuff. So
Yeah.
um it's only a question of, oh, here we are. Okay. It's only a question of when and how much. All right. I got a clock here.
Okay.
I got a script here. I got a producer here. I'm good to go. How about you, Barb?
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
David? He's always ready. I don't even know why I ask him. All right, I'll count this down in. Can you hear that? You can't hear them laughing, right? Okay,
I don't hear any laughing.
good. All right. Three, two, one. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority. Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb Schlinker is a pilot. Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday. If you can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or just go ahead and search on all of the popular podcast platforms, iHeartRadio, as well as the others. You'll find her there. Every week, Your Real Estate Voice covers great information about the housing market and one of most people's largest assets, their home. Barb, what are we going to be covering today?
Well, Richard, I'm always excited about the show just because I have a lot of things to share that might be of interest to our listeners. But the first one is really about how to get the most money when you sell a house in today's real estate market here in Colorado. It's a little tougher. There's a lot more homes on the market right now. Buyers are getting pickier and pickier. It's kind of right between a seller and a buyer's market. So how do you get the most money? And I can tell you 99.9% of the home sellers want the most money, of course. So I have some ideas that might be able to help you. And then we'll kind of talk about market stats in that segment because I really want to cover. You have to kind of look at the picture and go, all right, as a seller or as a buyer, how do you position it if you want to sell a house or buy a house? The next topic kind of fits in. It's how to avoid pricing mistakes that can actually cost you thousands of dollars when you sell a home. And most people, it's probably the longest discussions that we have when I meet with sellers is where do I price the home? They all want the most money and they all have different justifications for their pricing. But at the end of the day, the buyers probably know the market better than most real estate agents. They know in their criteria what they're looking for, and they know if it's a good buy or not. And this day and age, with the high quality photos that we have, the imagery, all the data that they could find on these tech company websites like Zillow, Realtor.com, and Homes.com, they're making a decision whether or not to spend their gas money to go look at the home based on the online presentation. And, Richard, I've even been yelled at for somebody going to look at one of my listings and they were disappointed that it wasn't like they thought. Now, it was priced 130,000 below similar sales for a reason. And I had comments in the agent remarks section about why it was priced that way. It had structural settling. But I didn't say it in the public remarks. So, what I learned from that is, okay, fine. I'll put it in the public remarks. the local MLS made me strip that out. I'm like, come on, this is about the house, right? Why can't you say that? So, but I have an alternative MLS that I use where I can control the narrative on the key websites, realtor.com, homes.com, and Zillow. And what was cool about it was the result was that I got a lot more buyer calls when I actually put just enough information to beg the question, how bad is it? And it turned out to be a good criticism. You know, the one buyer was like, you wasted my time. I drove in an hour and I didn't know it was that bad. And, you know, I'm not supposed to put homes on the market and say, this home is ugly, don't come, right? My job is to sell them, but it should be, you know, really obvious, like a Blue's Clues, that basically if it's priced 130,000 below similar sales, there must be a reason. Doesn't that make sense, Richard?
It makes all the sense in the world. It baffles me that somebody would just think, what did you say, more than $100,000
Yeah,
difference, that they would think they're all comparable. There's a reason why this one is where it's at.
right. And you know, I tried to rely on other, it wasn't my client, it was other real estate agents showing to read the information that I published in the agent side of the remarks and share it with their clients. But instead, they don't read, they get there, they're surprised, and then they stand there and talk smack about me about how I wasted their time. I'm like, God, okay, I give up. I'm going to lay it all out there for you to see, you know, and that turned out to be a positive thing, actually, just because um, they're calling me directly and I can answer their question and save them time. So the interesting part about this is, you know, when I started in real estate back in the 90s, you didn't have any kind of preview of properties. In fact, I just looked at a listing that I sold to these buyers back years and years and years ago. And I think I had 3 pictures online. They were very pixelated. You really couldn't see anything about the house. And it happened to be the buyer driving by that saw it and said, hey, and she called me and I ended up selling them that house. So fast forward 20 plus years later, most of the buyers won't do that. The imagery is so high quality. If they don't like the pictures, if they don't think the price is right, it has to hit all the stars to align. They're not going to show up. They're not going to go bother to go look at it. And when I first started, typically the agent controlled the inventory. They knew all about the homes that were for sale, and they were the ones picking the homes that they were going to show to their buyer. That is not the case anymore. The buyers are making the selection and grabbing an agent and going, agent, open that door for me. I want to see that house. Right. And then, of course, they want 3% commission and all that. So I could spend hours just on that topic. But anyway, so that's what we're kind of going to talk about, pricing and how important it is. And then we're also going to talk about inspections, my favorite topic. I love having fun with inspectors. And so we're going to talk about how to prevent agents from derailing the sale with their home inspectors. Actually, there was one that happened very recently where the agent, you know, thought everything was fine and this is just normal to ask for a bunch of stuff. But, you know, the whole situation was a really high demand property. It's still a high demand property. And I guess she just didn't get it. And so she blew up the contract. Now we're going back in contract, but I'm just saying a lot of them assume things and do what they have always done, thinking, well, it's perfectly fine to ask the seller for all these expensive repairs. But if you have another buyer sitting in the woodworks behind you, wanting to grab that house the first moment you ask for a bailout clause, guess what? They're going to do it. Anyway, so we're going to talk about inspections. And then the very last topic, kind of new and a bit controversial, is why now is the best time to sell a rental home in Colorado. And as always, I love talking about my hot new listings. Richard?
So, Barb, with the interest rates being pretty much the same in the last few months and more homes on the market, how does a home seller get the most money when they sell a house in today's real estate market?
Well, new stats just came out. And one of the things that really surprised me was that as of, you know, from July numbers, this was just published a few days ago, in the Pikes Peak region, the number of available homes for sale has gone up 25% as compared to a year ago, and another 25% as compared to 2023. Yet the number of sales for all those years has been the same. So now we have 50% more homes on the market, but the same amount of buying transactions. What does that tell you? There's definitely going to be downward pressure on prices. And I can see that happening, but it's not extreme. It's just a few percentage points. So it's not time to panic. Looking at the chart that just came out, the number of available homes really surged up, but the number of pending sales are going up too. They're not going up as fast as the inventory. But what I'm finding in my own practice, my own helping sellers and buyers, is that the days on market are longer. Homes are still selling. You don't need much of a price reduction if it's priced right, but more than half the home sellers kind of gravitate towards last year or the year before pricing for similar homes, and that doesn't work. So they end up having to lower their price. And we've seen more than a half of the home sellers actually reducing their price right now in most of the counties. So that's why it's so critical. When you put a home on the market, you have to be the best home at the best price. That is the way to get the most amount of money. And a lot of people think, well, why can't I just, price it high for negotiating room? It doesn't always work. It depends on what's available. It depends on who your competition is. If you're nearby a place that has new construction, you might be in trouble because those builders are offering the stars, the moon, plus 25,000 to buy their homes. And buyers are very, very well versed on what's available and what they can get in their price point. The good news is the interest rates for mortgages dipped down about 0.25% after that snafu that happened with was it the Bureau of Labor Statistics head that got fired for falsifying the job market, Richard? Is that what happened?
That I'm not, we're gonna have to edit this because I'm not sure about that.
Oh,
You want to take a quick look? I mean, I have to say everything, I try to keep a close eye on everything. When it comes to business and the markets or, what the Fed is doing, that stuff is usually on a back burner so far that I can't even see it from where I'm at.
right. Well, so you've been hearing about how Trump is saying bad things about the Fed.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think they don't love each other, right?
No, no,
Trump's
not at
trying to
all.
get the Fed to lower the rates, and it's not happening. He's keeping them the same. Well, the reason the Fed's keeping them the same is he's saying the job numbers are really strong. Then they came out right after the Fed said, no, I'm going to keep the rates the same. They adjusted the job numbers, and all of a sudden they're not strong. So Trump said, all right, that's a Biden nominee. You're fired. And so that just happened last week, and the stock market crashed because they were not crashed, but it went down about 400 points because they were basing all this financial data on false data, right? And so it does have an impact on mortgage rates, and they did go down about 0.25%. But in general, it's kind of a balanced market. And basically what this means to consumers is that buyers have more choices. And in order, if you have a home for sale, to get the attention that you need to get a good buyer, especially with rising inventory, you absolutely have to price it very, very realistic, and it has to be in good shape unless you're well under market value with your pricing. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about how do you get the most money when you sell a home in this market? And when we come back, we'll give you just a few more tips on what you should expect going forward in this market. Richard?
Now, Barb, we're discussing how a home seller gets the most money when they sell a house in today's market. So, what can sellers do to maximize their income?
Well, I mean, if you're a lucky seller, you're having a bidding more right now. But if you go on the market and you're getting offers right away, you're in the wheelhouse. Just stay there, stay the course. You're going to get the right buyer, even if they don't both come at the same time. But preparation is key, pricing is key, hiring the right agent that helps you do that. because very few buyers want to do any work, right? More than half of them are just going to turn their nose up at homes that need work unless it's priced way below market. So at the end of the day, with the buyer's great knowledge of the market and the fact that they're eliminating most of the homes online, kind of like online dating, you have to get everything right out of the gate. And we can help you do that. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, simply call Barb 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to avoid pricing mistakes that can cost you thousands when you sell your home. You don't want to miss that. Dang, girl, you were so far behind. I'm like, there is no way. There is no way she's going to pull this thing out. But you do
Yeah.
every time. I mean, why do I even doubt you, Barbara?
Well, we got a little sidetracked on the Fed thing, but I think it matters because there was so much hopium going out there. The Fed's going to lower the rate and the mortgage rates are going to come down and the housing is going to be cheaper. No, that's not what happened.
Well, and when you mentioned the thing about, because the original thing I didn't notice so much. I did notice when Trump said, well, this is a Biden guy, so he's going to adjust the numbers to try to make the economy look bad and to make me look bad. And
Right.
that's on that political side of it is kind of where I picked up on it. But even so, it's just that is not something I'm very good at all.
That's okay. I have to watch it
I
because
know. I mean, yeah,
everybody's asking me this. What's going
of
on with
course.
rates? Is it going to, you think the Fed's going to drop the rates? I'm like, no, it's not.
And that's what I
Oh,
tell
like it
people
does.
all the time is that, just so you know, I mean, one of the things I say is that people ask me all the time, how is it that this woman can guarantee all of these things? And I'm like, she's, first of all, how long you've been doing it. But the
Mhm.
other thing is you keep a close eye on each and everything. You're up to date on the very latest information. That's what you talk about on Saturdays, but you keep a close eye on things that other agents, are not paying attention to. You are, and that's why you're so damn good that you can guarantee things. Hang on one second. All right. There we go. All right. I got a new clock. I got a new script. I got the same old host. I have the same old host. I have the same old producer, and I am ready to go.
Do you guys think that Fed answer made sense?
I think if you cut out the part at the beginning where I was admitting that I'm an idiot, I think if you take that part out and go to where you were at, I think it totally makes sense.
No, you're just not paying attention to it. I thought it was big news. It was all over Kudlow. Now I don't know.
Well, it is. I mean, see, that's the problem. It is.
Ludlow is financial.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I don't mean to, that made it sound perhaps like it's not big news. It is huge news. I'm just saying that the way I have information come into me, it's sometimes listening to the radio, it's sometimes watching television, almost always Fox or News Nation, something like that. And then it's coming in on social media. So a lot of what I'm getting on social media, I'm not getting that information because I'm not following somebody who's bringing that information. But I didn't mean to give the impression that it wasn't big or very, very, very important news because it absolutely is. It's
No.
it's just not something I'm very good at. And
And I don't pay attention to social media at all.
yeah,
Well, except for maybe YouTube, if you can call that social media. I'll watch that. A couple of my favorite guys. I like Benny Johnson,
he's
and
so good.
he's cool.
He
So
is so good.
a couple others. Some of these guys are just funny. I love the guy Robert Gouveia down in Phoenix. He's a former attorney, or still, I don't know if he was a defense attorney, I guess.
Right.
But sometimes he gets insider information ahead of anybody else. He beats the news cycle a lot.
I'm gonna have to look at that then because I don't know that I follow him. What's his last name?
Gouveia, Robert.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I think that's a French word. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm
He's smart. He's
always
funny.
looking for more things. In fact, there's a couple of things I think I was trying to see if I can incorporate them into my show. There's well, it's three people actually. It's not just one. It's Do Better Denver.
Mm.
And they go through and point out everything that's wrong with you got homeless people over here, you got crime over there. And it's just, it's responsible public journalism. And it's you know that they're doing a good job because now the Denver Post and the Gazette are calling them out and even doxing them.
Oh,
And
really?
why is that? Well, because they're making the mayor of Denver look bad. Well,
Where are they? Are they on YouTube or social media?
they're on X primarily.
On
Well,
X.
it's in Instagram primarily. Yeah. I can send you a link to it if you'd like, but every day there's photographs of, look at this crime here, look at all this filth over here. And the premise is, gosh darn it, do better than this, Denver. And Denver is just, I mean, it depends on where you go. You can go some places, it's very nice. Other places, it looks like a third world hellhole. I'll be happy when my daughter moves. I can tell you that.
Yeah, she's up in Denver.
Yeah, she's I mean, technically where she's at isn't bad. It's not like a horrible neighborhood or whatever. But and I think mentioned this one time before. So she's been doing all these triathlons and everything. So the swimming component of it, she has to train for. And so she goes to the main high school complex. I think it's East High, North High, something, whatever it is. It's the worst high school in Denver, and it's got a YMCA next to it. And like, Jenna, that's one of the worst places in the entire city. Well, we walk each other, and these are all women. We walk each other to the cars and stuff. Oh, well, then that makes it okay because if a criminal were to see wanted to rape or kidnap or murder or rob somebody, he would say, "Oh, there's two women together. We can't possibly do anything there."
I
Gee.
had when our son was in college, he went through this period where he wasn't sure what he wanted to study.
Right,
So I thought he wanted aviation, so he went to what's it called, Metro State downtown
right,
Denver,
yeah,
and I got him an apartment in Aurora. Well, I didn't know anything about Aurora.
right.
You know, it looked fine to me. The price seemed right. Got them all moved in. And then, a couple months later, it's like, Mom, I can hear like guns going off at night. I'm like, oh my God. Really?
Well, but the thing is, Barb, I don't think most people knew that at the time. Now I know it. And now one of my criteria is how close she is to Aurora. And the places that I've been to Aurora to cover those Venezuelan gangs, the people in the neighborhood say they hear gunshots every night, every single night up there.
That's
But
great.
there's no way that you would have known that, 5, 10, 15 years ago.
And you
That
can't tell by looking at it,
no.
So
Well, and the other thing is, and I learned this when I was in television. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much here real quickly. We'll get back on track. But when I first came out here, I'm in television. The photographer drives and reporter anchor sits over in the other seat. And so we're driving around and my photographer says, well, this is the worst intersection in Colorado Springs. And I'm like, wow. And it's Highway 24 bypass and Chelton.
hmm,
I'm looking at it. It just looks like a bunch of apartment buildings. There's a, 7-Eleven over
bars.
there. It doesn't look bad. He goes, doesn't look bad, does it? He goes, but it is bad. And especially at night, it's bad. And the problem is that if you were looking at an apartment out here, you'd think, well, this is a fine little neighborhood, but it's really not. And I think
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah. And sometimes you can't tell. I remember showing houses, and one of my clients who was doing he was doing like kind of helping young men get out of gangs and stuff.
right.
And so I'm driving around showing him houses. He goes, Barb, this is the hood. I'm like, it is. So, because it all looks fine in
It all
Colorado
looks
Springs.
fine.
So anyway.
I mean, and and so I think that it's very easy for something like that to happen with your son. And if I didn't know better and I were just moving to Colorado Springs, I would have, looked at apartments. I would have seen something there and thought, oh, this is fine. And then would have been trying to move out, as soon
Right.
as I could after the lease is up. So,
Yeah, that was not so grand time in school. It was a little bit better when he went up to Fort Collins and CSU and
yeah.
went to school there. He had more fun. So,
All right, let's see. Got a new clock. I'll count us down in three, two, one. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, a lot of people look at those automated valuations that they see on Zillow, or they look at their neighbor's asking price to try to determine what their home is worth,
yeah.
especially now that it's taking longer to sell a home. How does a home seller decide what price to set when they're selling their home?
Well, pricing a home correctly can mean the difference between a home seller getting the most money when they sell, or it's sitting on the market month after month, showing after showing, longer than the normal period of time. And then if you do get an offer, then it's going to be kind of a low offer because they're going to think you're desperate, right? And I've seen, like, I was just looking at similar sales for a seller last night. And we're like, well, look, they've been on the market for whatever it was, 120 days. But look at the history. They started at this price and then they slowly walked the price down and they ended up netting less money. However, had they come out of the gate at that price in the beginning, then it would have sold right away. And that by itself saves them money, I think. So if you price too high, two things happen. One of them is you get very few showings until it's priced right. And you're helping your competition sell their home. Buyers are going, oh, well, better deal. I'm going over here, right? So the number of available homes continues to rise. And I don't know why. It's kind of strange. It's been low inventory for the last couple of years. And all of a sudden, boom, we're seeing over 4,200 homes on the market in the Pikes Peak region. That's a massive, almost a 50% increase from 2 years ago with the same amount of sales. So I spent a little time doing the math because I thought that was fun. I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but basically, I looked at the number of sales 2 years ago as compared to the number of sales going on right now. And what I discovered is 2 years ago, 72% of the homes that were on the market were getting contracts. This year, 2 years later, it's the same number of sales essentially. So with rising inventory, that means about a third of the homes are getting contracts. So it's really important to price your home right. If you don't price your home right, I know everybody wants the most money. Then it's going to sit on the market longer. I just had somebody call me this morning and said, I don't want to deal with all these people coming through my house. I don't want to do that. I said, all right, we have an option for you. We have our cash offer program. But if you look at the stats, more than 50% of home sellers are dropping their price as compared to 2 years ago. It wasn't that much. And I think right now there's a lot of people really hoping that, the Fed's going to lower the rates, and there are definitely buyers sitting on the sidelines waiting for that. But is that really going to happen? I personally don't think it's going to happen until this Fed leaves office. And that's his term ends next May. So if you need to sell this year, you just have to price the home properly. And we know how to help you do that to get the home sold. For me, a good sale is if you get your home under contract within 30 days. If it's taking longer than that, at least with the marketing that we're doing, we don't have a marketing problem. It's a pricing problem. And a lot of people hold on to this let me say that again. A lot of people hold on to this fictitious number that, okay, they want this much, but if they want to sell now and the market has already spoken back to you, not bringing you offers, it's not the right number. We need to make a move. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about pricing mistakes that could cost you thousands when selling your home. Now, what I mean by it costing you thousands, the longer you have your home sitting on the market, the more slowly that you walk the price down. According to national statistics, this isn't just Barb talking, I'm talking national statistics. Home sellers net less money. You're better off being priced very well, meaning on the low side of all the similar sales coming out of the gate to get the right price. So when we come back, we're going to talking about how to set the right price so that you can get your home quickly. The biggest pain point that I find with most home sellers is not just the preparation. It is basically dealing with the showings. It's a lot of pain for sellers, because people come in, they judge your home. Some of them, I have to chase after these agents to give feedback. I would say probably more than half of them don't give feedback. And even really high-end price points. It's like, really? You went out and showed a $2 million home and you don't have 30 seconds to fill out a simple online form to tell me what your buyer thought. To me, it's unprofessional. Also, most of them don't even leave business cards, which I would hate that. If I knew somebody was in my home, but they didn't leave a business card to let me know that they were there. So that unfortunately in this industry, there is no training to be a real estate agent. There is no job description to be a real estate agent. There's no how to in most of these brokerages on how to be a good professional agent. It just doesn't happen that much. So most of the agents just do what they've always done. They think that's right. And it was funny as far as leaving a card, which I think is a real simple thing. I mean, a business card, what do they cost? Maybe a half a penny to leave a business card, right? So I don't think it's very expensive, but why are they not leaving cards? I asked my colleague that and he goes, oh, it's because of COVID. They're afraid of germs. I'm like, give me a break. COVID's over. So I don't understand it, but because there's no training, there's no how to, you get all kinds of weird things happening on showings. I get complaints from some of my clients. Okay, they left the lights on, they left the fan on, they didn't close the screen door, all these things. They use the restroom. It just drives people crazy. So they want to get that pain point over as soon as possible. I'm not saying an overnight sale. I'm saying in a reasonable amount of time. The average days on market is dropping a bit, is down into about the 40-day range for El Paso County. However, that's only for the homes that are priced right, that are getting contracts. All the rest are languishing on the market, waiting for the right buyer or to be set at the right price. So if you are planning on making a move, we can help you sell your home in any market and help you position it to be the best home on the block. Just give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And you can listen to replays of the show anytime on all of the major podcast platforms, plus Barb's YouTube channel, Barb Schlinker. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900. Now, Barb, what are some other magic bullets on pricing your home to get that top dollar?
Well, I say one of them is absolutely pricing, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have to remodel the home. Of course, most people want the most money in their pocket when they sell, and I'd love to get you the most money. However, pricing it high is just the opposite of getting you the most money. It will mean that your house will sit on the market day after day, week after week, dealing with showings until you maybe get a contract. But pricing it right, what I call very realistically, is the way you get the most money and get the most interest right out of the gate. Buyers, they are very well educated right now with all these online websites, Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com. They can see all the homes around you. They can see all the values around you whether or not these homes are on the market. And so the buyers are making a decision as to whether or not they're going to do a go, no go to look at the home based on the online presentation right away. So you'll be able to tell if you're on the market based on the number of activity that you're getting with showings. So if you're getting offers, you're in the wheelhouse. Stay right there. It may not be the right offer. You'll probably get another offer that you like very soon. I just put one of my clients under contract that got an offer before we started showing. They didn't put the deal together because they didn't agree on possession date. But I said, don't worry, that means we're over the target. We've got the right price. And sure enough, we ended up going on to 2 more offers until we found the right buyer. We went under contract and the home is on its way to closing. If you find that you're getting plenty of showings, but no offers, you're just a little bit off, maybe 2 to 3%. So what is plenty? Zillow tells me that the average number of showings per week is 6. Now, most of my listings are not getting 6. So there is definitely a decrease in the buyer activity. But if you're getting 6 or more a week, then you're getting the right number of showings. There's a problem with pricing. In other words, you're getting them in the door, but buyers are finding better choices out there instead of what you have to offer. If you're getting very few showings, you're more off. You have to make a steeper price adjustment. And this is what we do for our clients all the time. People invite us every week to come out and give them tips on what to do, what not to do to get their home ready for sale, get them a really good idea of what their home will sell for in this market and how much they'll put in their pocket. And we also help you prepare and price the home to attract the most amount of money, because at the end of the day, your first showing is online. And if you priced it right, you'll get multiple offers or at least get one really good offer and be able to sell the home for the most money. I have a couple of stories, but this is just one from a few years back where it was very, very dated. Their competition was higher end, newer custom homes. And they asked me, do we remodel the kitchen with tile counters and white appliances? And I'm like, no, because you're not going to get the money. It's going to cost you probably $100,000 to update that kitchen. And it just won't work. You may not get the money out of it because you have to raise the price by that much. And now buyers you're competing with are out there, the sellers you're competing with out there actually have more modern homes, more updated floor plans, less updating to do. I mean, this home built in the 80s, when I first saw it, it had a pink carpet. Remember when mauve and green were a big trend back in the 90s? Oh my God, I'm glad that came and went. It was kind of the Southwesty thing. So they had that. In fact, their sinks up in the bathrooms were seashell shaped and they were pink. I said, okay. So we brought in a company called Get a Grip, and they actually sprayed the sinks a white polyurethane. It looked amazing. And so they priced it right. They did just the basics, flooring, fix any broken stuff, pricing it very realistically, actually below what I thought the market would command. And it ended up selling for $75,000 over asking price. Richard?
This is one of the many reasons that I recommend you, Barb, a trusted Navy veteran, when people are thinking of buying or selling a home. I'm Richard Randall, and you're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. Barb Schlinker, host of the program. I sit in with her. Barb Schlinker, of course, with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And you can reach her at 719-301-3900 or barbhasthebuyers.com. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to prevent agents from derailing the sale of a home inspection. Oh, context is everything. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to prevent agents from derailing the sale by using a home inspection. Stay tuned for that. Is that all right?
That's perfect.
Okay. All right.
Not according to script, but that's okay. I went babbling on again.
About 1 o'clock.
All right. All right, let me get a new clock here. Hang on 1 second. All right. I'll count us down in, oops, sorry. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She is your real estate voice, and this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, when buyers do a home inspection, typically they're checking to see if the home has a functional condition. What are the most common issues that arise on inspections, and how can sellers be prepared for that inspection?
Well, I mean, probably the biggest frustration for most home sellers is this phase of the sale. You know, they're all real happy when they have a contract. Woohoo, I'm going to closing, getting the finish line, pretty much already spending their net proceeds on something, a house or whatever. And that's great. However, the buyer is going to do an inspection, and it's more than likely, even the homes that are in really, really good condition, the inspector is going to find something and they're going to ask for stuff. And the unfortunate part of this process is in the state of Colorado, there is no license to be a home inspector. I could be a home inspector, and the only thing I know how to do is maybe run a screwdriver a little bit, but at the end of the day, there's no qualification. Now, the state's starting to stick their toe into certifying inspectors these days. One of the things that they do license is to test for radon. Radon is the natural radiation that emanates from granite decomposing. And the EPA has established this measurement called a picocure. And if it's more than 4 picocures, some buyers will ask for the radon levels to be mitigated. And so the way they do that is they take a big plastic PVC pipe, stick it in the perimeter drain, stick a fan in it, and theoretically it blows the radon out the roof or out through that big 4-inch pipe, or actually it's like a 6-inch pipe. They're kind of ugly. And so generally the cost of that system runs about $1,200 to $1,300 on most homes. And typically these contractors can get the levels down below EPA standards. Most of them will guarantee it. So that test itself is now requiring a license. And then the latest thing is for VA loans, to get a VA loan, the lenders all of a sudden started requiring termite inspections, even in Colorado. We don't really have termites here. They don't, at least they're not natural. Like they'll come in, brought in on pallets to grocery stores and things like that. And that's how they kind of spread and enter into some houses. But the state is they're kind of created this certification to check for termites, but that's something new. And it's something to consider if your buyer is getting a VA loan. Now, as far as agent behavior around inspections, that's very interesting. According to state license law for real estate agents, we cannot let somebody in a home without permission. That's license law. But for some reason, the agents tend to not want to go to inspections. I think a lot of them think it's a waste of their time. And so a lot of them will ask me, well, can't you just give out the combo to my unlicensed inspector and let him in the house for 3 hours going over all the systems, even occupied homes? And I'm like, no, we can't do that. First of all, it invalidates my insurance. And generally, they're going to spend 3 hours in the home touching just about every system. And so I've kind of directed agents to go, hey, either you or your team are going to have to be there for the inspection. And if they can't, I'm going to be there for my client. The other thing I have them do is they will try to kick the sellers out of their own home for the inspection. I'm like, you can't tell somebody to leave their own home. Where does that come from? So it came from the history of the agents being used to having the home to themselves for showings. And now they think they get to have the homes to themselves for the inspection. And that's not necessarily the case. And what I find is many of these inspectors on their report will try to impose today's building code on newer homes, or they just won't understand the systems and they'll do some crazy stuff. So I insist that the buyer's agent or the representative will be there. And if they won't, then we have to be there to protect our clients. And I tell the clients, don't be surprised if the inspector comes up to you and asks you to leave. The answer is no, no. If you guys want to go talk privately, you can do that somewhere else. And it does say in the state contract that the home is sold as is, where is, with all its faults. However, the buyer can inspect anything they want. So there's a whole bunch of systems that they scrutinize. And I put some restrictions on that. In fact, I got into like a 10 o'clock at night multi-term paper length text battle with a real estate agent just about a week ago over whether or not we can say that the inspector could check the sewer line. I've had so many problems with these inspectors coming in and messing with sewer lines that I said, that's it, no more. If they want to check that system, that's fine. I understand that. But they need to bring a plumbing company that knows what they're doing. So some of the systems that these guys are going to check out, or girls, could be a girl, is a furnace, air conditioner, water heater. They'll look at the permit history, GFCI, that's that little electric circuit that has a circuit breaker on it, essentially, that if those circuits overload, it pops. New code requires a GFCI just about everywhere there's water, but old code or legacy homes are grandfathered in. They don't have to have that, but some inspectors will ask. There is a certain brand of electric panel, Federal Pacific, that's basically been terribly banished online. If you go Google Federal Pacific panel, it will terrify you. And it's in about a third of the houses in this market. So almost every buyer asks for a new panel. That could be very expensive. But my experiences that I've had with inspectors have been just absolute craziness. I've had inspectors go to a house, turn every single faucet on inside and out, and run it for 4 hours. And that's on a property with a well. And they ended up sucking the well dry and sucking sand up through the well pump, through the plumbing fixtures, into the sink and the tub. And of course, then the inspector talks the buyer out of the house saying the well is not performing. It performed great. It's just that there's only so much the tank can hold before it has to replenish. I've had them, these big guys go up in the attic and stick their foot or their bottoms, through the drywall, stepping in the wrong place and crack the drywall. I've had them drop things in sewer lines. I've had them pop circuit breakers of things like freezers. So after an inspection, you need to go and check all these things to make sure they didn't turn systems off. I've had many of them pull toilets without a permission. The picture I'm showing you right now was hilarious. So I told the agent that, if they're going to pull a toilet to check a sewer line, this is when I allowed inspectors to do it, they need to bring a plumber. So did they do that? No, completely ignored it. I don't even think she read this thing that I sent her. So on the inspection objection, we get a objection that says the basement toilet is missing. And when I presented that to the seller, he's like, well, that's kind of funny because I think I used that toilet yesterday. It can't be missing. So he went downstairs, and when he came back up, he shared this picture with me. So what the inspector had done is pulled the toilet. He found a silicone bath mat and just drug it over underneath his knees so he was all comfy. But then when he re-secured the toilet, and he probably didn't even replace the ring, the bath mat was stuck under the rim of the toilet. And so that's what we discovered. And we're like, oh my God. So we pretty much, got real strict with that buyer and said, look, if you go through with this sale, because it's not a done deal until after you've resolved inspection and appraisal and you're cleared to close, and they close, right? There's all these steps to the process. If you go through, or if you change your mind about buying this house, before we release the earnest money back to you, you're going to bring in a plumber and correct this. And so they went ahead and bought the house anyway. But I've had inspectors tear apart pedestal sinks. I've had inspectors leave some kind of screwdriver thing stuck in the wood. They just stuck it in the wood and said, oh, there's wood rot, you know. When they first started doing sewer scopes, instead of removing the toilet, they would run their scopes down through the toilet and through tubs and damage these things. And my favorite, all-time favorite, is all of the stupid gadgets that the inspectors have. Carbon monoxide detectors, which are not properly handled and properly calibrated. I've had these inspectors scare a buyer from a house thinking there was something wrong with the furnace, which there wasn't. His stupid detector of carbon monoxide wasn't working right. They like to use these infrared, I don't know if they're infrared, they're heat scanners that measure temperature. And they assume based on that temperature change that there's a plumbing leak. Well, I've had these inspectors identify an alleged plumbing leak in a wall, behind a wall, where there was no plumbing. I've had them use these pressure gauge to measure water pressure where they weren't properly calibrated. We got into a big cat fight over that. And my favorite, all-time favorite, is the mold meter, which was so stupid. The guy walked through the house with this wand and said, oh, there's mold, you know, which is just false. You actually have to test mold and see how it works. So you really want somebody that has your back in on inspection, and you have to double check everything. So you need some time from the time they object to the time you reach agreement on resolution, verifying it with professionals before you move forward with some of the crazy things these inspectors come up with. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about how you can prevent agents from derailing the contract on home inspections. And next up, we're going to talk about how you can prepare for your home inspection so that it goes smoothly. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She is your real estate voice, host of the program, and the owner proprietor of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can reach her at 719-301-3900. So, Barb, what are some other things that a home seller can do to prevent the agent from blowing up that sale?
Well, I would say, first of all, and some sellers do this, and I love when they're prepared because it really gives a lot of ammunition. I can share the preparation with the buyers and they're feeling good about the house. So if they get ahead of it and do things like a roof certification, I probably 1 out of 3 listings that I have to get a new roof because of all the hail damage we have in Colorado. Have the furnace checked out and serviced. Have the sewer line checked. You know, sewer lines, if they are fractured or broken, it could be a very, very expensive repair, anywhere from, I would say, the low end of 3,000, high end of about 12 to 13,000 to repair a fractured sewer line. You want to know about that, and you want to make sure that you have an opportunity to get bids, because there's a big variety of prices for repairs if you need to do that. And I think that if you wait for the buyer's inspector to do it, the problem is, you know, now you're up against a deadline and you have to scramble to get bids and figure out what it's going to take to get this buyer to the finish line. So one of the things you can do definitely is include a home warranty, especially if you have old systems, old furnaces, old water heaters. You know, these inspectors will actually deem these systems dead based on their age. So they'll say, oh, if your water heater is more than 6 to 10 years old, you need a new one. Well, mine lasted over 20 years. So you don't need a new one just because they're old, as if they're not functioning or they're starting to rust or whatever. So you need a professional to look at it and give you a really good opinion. Radon's a good test. Decks, we have a lot of problems with deck rot and stuff like that. Now, on appliances, as long as they work, they're fine. But you should know that refrigerator, washer, dryer are personal property. So if you include them and you don't hire an agent that knows what they're doing about how to protect you if they happen to fail, because it is just a gift to the buyer, you need to have something in the contract that says, hey, if this breaks, this is a Prezi. Sorry, I'm not going to repair or replace it. I hate when sellers have to buy a furnace that really, or not a furnace, but like a refrigerator or washer dryer used just because they included it and for some reason it failed during the contract. Furnaces, very good to get them fixed. Windows, I would check for any cracks, any breaks, any broken seals. Most buyers are going to ask for repairs. And, there's some crazy stuff that goes on in inspections. I talk about it all the time. My favorite one was the pizza party at the home inspection where the seller was out of town, and on their Ring doorbell, they see the pizza girls show up with not one pizza, but 3 pizzas and a bag of wings. So you're like, wait a minute, what? They're calling me and say, what, are they going to squat in my house? I said, so I had to find out what was going on. Apparently the buyer was hungry, but that's just not appropriate behavior. And we include something called a certified pre-owned home program where we help you do all these things. And that way you're prepared when it's inspection time. If you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That is Barb Schlinker, host of the program. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing why now is the best time to sell a rental home in Colorado. Plus, Barb's hot new listings. Don't miss those. And when she says hot, we mean hot. Hot new listings. Fuego. Oh, that's right. Tierra del Fuego, land of the fire. Yeah, there you are. Land of the
2
fire.
3s and no 4. Okay.
Oh, that's the tip of Argentina. Now that I think about it. Like, wait a minute, I know
Where did I know that?
exactly. I'm like, how did I know that? All right.
I know I went long on that one, DJ. Sorry. The bane of my existence.
You never. Going along on your favorite topic? Where did that happen?
That couldn't happen. All right, here we are. A new clock.
All right, hang on. I got to print this one out. It's got a lot of detail in it that I don't have memorized.
All right. Oh, okay. Right.
All right, ready to roll.
Okay. Let's see. I'm ready to go. I want to get David out of here for his 1 o'clock. I got a new clock. I'm all set to go here. Barb, how about you?
Okay, I'm ready. I'll keep it short.
David's ready to go. We'll count it down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, sometimes people have to sell a rental home. So why is now actually a great time to sell a rental home?
Well, Richard, the laws between landlords and tenants right now have gotten more tenant friendly, let me say it that way. So certain things are okay to deal with, like if your tenant has a late fee, they restricted how much you can charge to either which one's higher, $50 or 5% of the rent. They can also, there's no limit on security deposits, but it's supposed to be designed to cover like the normal wear and tear when they move out. So there's no maximum amount, but typically most landlords are going to charge about 1 month's rent. Now you can get insurance policies against damage. And if you're interested in that, give me a call at 719-301-3900. I'm happy to share that with you. But you can buy insurance that will cover if your tenant happens to trash the house. And those are the stories I hear all the time. People talk about those where the tenant left the house behind. They left. I talked to one just last weekend where they moved out in a couple months ago and their furniture is still in there. So they're still paying rent for their furniture. And the seller's kind of stuck. And it's like, get out, you know? And then there's also, if this landlord does not comply with the very strict timelines of giving them an answer about what's going to happen with this security deposit, the tenant can come after you for 3 times the cost of the deposit. Now, there are some exceptions to a standard lease where the tenants can terminate early. 4 of them basically can be met. One of them is if they're in the military and they're being transferred. Number 2 is if the property is hazardous or uninhabitable. And I have to tell you a horror story. I had somebody working for me before. She was a manager, property manager, and she let somebody in that basically they had a lot of resources financially and they paid their rent a full year in advance. She got into a fight with her boyfriend. She stepped out of the house. Apparently there was fighting going on and they called the police. For some reason, they brought the SWAT team. He wouldn't leave the house. They started shooting tear gas in the home. And the police just blew out every window, every door. And the guy got away, which was kind of funny. And they did about, I don't know, a couple $100,000 worth of damage to the home. So the owner had to pay to house the tenant who caused the problem. And then the owner tried to keep the security deposit and she had money behind her. She had sharp lawyers. And actually, the seller lost their case that she had to give the security deposit back to the buyer that caused this big fight in the first place, or the tenant rather. So anyway, that's another example. Might be domestic violence where they can actually terminate early. Landlords can, of course, evict for non-payment. And there's a lot of rules that changed around giving proper notice. So now, if their lease is about to expire, you really have to give notice 120 days out, anywhere from 90 to 120, that you plan to sell the property. You can't kick them out if you're going to raise the rent. That doesn't work. But anyway, there's that. And then the other thing that's going on that I just heard about, and I wasn't able to find it online, but somebody that's a very busy property manager told me that in 2025, they changed the law that said that the tenant has a right to a jury trial if they're getting evicted. Well, guess what? It takes 6 months to get a jury trial. So they could be in your house for 6 months not paying. That one scared me. I was like, ooh, maybe not. Maybe I won't rent this place. I just bought a place, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. But anyway, so basically there's all kinds of rights that tenants have, and I definitely would look into it. I don't think right now this business, with the way the laws have changed, is something that you'd want to do on your home. You would want to hire a professional property manager because there's so many rules. Like if they quit paying, you can't turn off the utilities. You cannot do that. The utility companies won't let you do that. And the house has to be, basically habitable, or they could come after you for it. So I've had so many people that I've met with over the years that have talked about frustrations of how, they'll find people in the home that aren't on the lease. Well, guess what? You have to evict them. It doesn't matter if they're on the lease or not. And in general, though, if you decide to sell it, I've had some landlords, I don't know if you remember back in COVID, the tenants didn't have to pay rent for a while. And I had one client that they're very nice people, but they were trying to figure out, okay, how do we do this? Do we evict them or we kill them with kindness? So what they ended up doing, they asked them to move. They wouldn't really move. So they finally said, all right, how about if we pay for a storage facility for your stuff? and that worked. That got them out of the house. So there's all kinds of creative ways to deal with this. But when you get ready to sell your home, you have to make it look pretty. Unless you've got it priced way below market value, the buyers will not overlook condition issues. So an example of a kitchen that has broken formica, that's enough to make a buyer turn their nose up at it. And it might not cost you more than $2,000 to replace counters with formica. Some of the things that are really good to update would be flooring, light fixtures, plumbing fixtures. Make sure the shower is clean, that there's no discoloration or what they call mold. Service the water heater. And so you just want to make sure that once you get them out, you're going to have to spend a few months of empty time getting the home ready for sale. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about why now is the best time to sell a rental home. And next up, we're going to be talking about some tips on how you can prevent craziness from happening on your rental property. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That is Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Barb, what are some other things that people should consider when they're selling a rental home?
Well, Richard, I'd say the biggest challenge for most landlords is to get them out, right? And you have to go through an attorney to do the formal eviction process. If it comes to that, sometimes just posting a notice is enough. Sometimes working with them is fine. But at the end of the day, when you get the home emptied, then you have to deal with repairs to bring it to full market value. And the key things that buyers are looking for generally is just move-in ready. They don't want to do any work, right? So look at light fixtures, look at flooring, make sure the home looks really, really nice. I just talked to one this morning where he goes, you should have seen this home when I got it from the tenant. Now he put a lot of money into that home to make it look good, and it's beautiful, and we were able to sell it right away. So that's the key, but not everybody has those resources. Another solution to that would be to price it right. But in general, floorings, landscaping, bathrooms, cosmetic stuff is really critical because we know buyers are making a decision about what homes they're going to go look at based on the online presentation, and you have less than a minute to make an impression. So if they see that the carpet needs to be replaced, if they see that there's broken stuff, they're kind of like, I don't want to spend, money on a property that I need to put more cash into when I buy it, unless it's really, really a good deal. And so that's part of what we help people do. We'll sit down with you and give you tips on what to do, what not to do to get your house ready for sale, go over all the closing costs, and give you a really good idea on what you'll put in your pocket when it sells. So just give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker on Your Real Estate Voice. If you're thinking of selling your home, you want to get the most amount of money, of course, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Barb, time for the lightning round of the homes you've got up for sale this week. What do you have?
All right. Well, I've got a really beautiful Briargate home, 8230 Canfield Circle, priced at $439,999. This home has an abundance of gleaming hardwood floors, granite counters, backs to open space. Really cool historic property up in Cripple Creek at 292 on Carr Avenue. An amazing home on Highway 24 in Woodland Park with gorgeous views at 299. A couple of great homes out east in Yoder, one on 375 Rush Road, priced at $374,999, over 2 acres. And right next door, a beautiful property, 355 North Rush Road, priced at $464,999. That one's on 9 acres, and they both back to open space that's very less likely to be built on anytime soon. Both of those properties have plenty of garage and workshop, and you can move right into those. They're really cute homes. Another fantastic one on the west side, 610 North Tower, that was actually used. The basement was rented out with a 5-star Airbnb, which is transferable. And the seller was able to command almost $15,000 a month in rent just on renting the basement. So imagine having somebody pay half of your mortgage every single month. A new listing we're going to be featuring actually this weekend, 7106 Red Cardinal Loop in Colorado Springs, priced as a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, stunning yard. And it backs to open space as well as the back and the side. Gorgeous gleaming hardwood floors, granite counters, fresh carpet, priced at $524,999. Beautiful home on the southwest part of town on Beckett Drive at $695. Another fantastic patio home, 2411 Spanish Oak Terrace, priced at $749,999, backs to the golf course, but the lot affords privacy from the golf balls, the way it's structured. It's really nice. Really amazing townhome that's owned by the VA on Domi Kite View, priced at $379,999. Another Briargate home, 4-bedroom, 3-bath on Zurich Drive, $454,999. New listing on 2057 Killdeer Court. This gorgeous 2-story home with a finished basement and a 2.5-car garage has 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, brand new carpet, brand new flooring at $479,999. An amazing home on the west side, Big Valley, priced at $715,000 with a detached 3rd-car garage, ultimate man cave workshop. And that one has updated kitchen, really beautiful home. Another stunning home in Briargate, prestigious Summerfield, 8935 Coberdale Court, priced at $659,900. This gorgeous home, it has an amazing kitchen and master bath. The kitchen has this giant island where you could seat 6. There's even a drink refrigerator built into the island and Lux vinyl flooring on the main level. It is stunning. And that one's a great home. Another beautiful one, 5081 Broadmoor Bluffs Drive at $684,999, backs to NORAD with fresh carpet. Gorgeous home on 2025 True Vista up in right at County Line Road, close commute to Douglas County at $734,999. Beautiful updated kitchen. And then we have a beautiful lot on 624 Hidden Valley in Lake George. And that lot is priced just at $35,000. So if you're interested in any of our properties, you can go to barbhasthebuyers.com, or if you want to make a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900. Richard?
You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice. It airs every weekend. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb Schlinker at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Remember, you can see replays of the program as well on Barb's YouTube channel and listen to the podcast on all of the popular platforms like Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, many, many others. Thanks for listening this weekend. To reach out to Barb, again, that number is 719-301-3900. Barb, great talking with you. Have a great week. We'll talk again next weekend.
Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend.
There you go.
Hey, DJ, I forgot one house. It's my highest end home. Can we dub in one more property?
Absolutely.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. And last but not least, this stunning custom home in prestigious High Forest Ranch, 16145 Open Sky Way, over 7,000 square feet, main level master, mountain views on 4 acres, priced at $2,095,000. Give us a call.
That's not in my budget, Barb. All right. But you know what?
Is that the one you have house envy over?
Well, that's one. Actually, now I have 2 or 3 of them.